Welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs, and this is a Penn State fans turn on James Franklin edition of the OHIO podcast. Of course, I am recording this late evening, Saturday evening. Just got back from the beautiful state of Pennsylvania, where we were able to view this game from Mike's Beer Bar in Pittsburgh with the Alumni Association of Pittsburgh there and our good friend Mike Wargo and all our other new friends that we met there in Pittsburgh. And great game. We're 4-0 when we go to Pittsburgh to watch these games. And this is the first time we went to the state of Pennsylvania to watch Ohio State play against Penn State. Of course, Mike Wargo grew up a Penn State fan and played his college football for the Buckeyes. And I tell you, what a great game, 20-13. And this was another James Franklin craps the bed game when you take into account how they went up 10-0, had the football inside the 5-yard line on two different occasions and came away with no points. James Franklin has an issue, and the fan base on there in Happy Valley. Check a look at these stats. You all think Ryan Day's got some bad stats against top opponents. Look at these. 1-7 versus top 10 teams at home. At home. With that crowd, 111,000, I think it was the reported number today. Amazing fan base, rabid fan base, made it loud. Of course, it wasn't a whiteout at home at night, but those fans make the home field advantage amazing. It's definitely on my bucket list to go watch a game there at Beaver Stadium. 6-10 versus ranked teams at home. 1-9 versus top 5 teams, and he's 1-10 now against the Buckeyes. That's just not good enough against your top rival. If Ohio State is Penn State's top rival, and if you ask any Penn State fan, that's how they view us here in the Buckeye State, as their top rival, that's just not good enough. That's worse than what Coop did against the team up north. And of course, following the game, frustration came out. I want you to watch this video. This is a video. I taken the sound off of it. There's several videos out there. You can find this. This is James Franklin being confronted by a fan who is upset with him. James Franklin says to that fan, "What's your name?" The fan doesn't respond, and basically he's saying to him, "If you're gonna yell at me and chew me out, I want to know what your name is." And the guy walks away and kind of does the old, you know, whatever that is. And then James Franklin rings the victory bell on his march out from there. So I don't know, man. This is not a good look. It's not a good look for James Franklin that he's now got rabbit ears when it comes to his own fans screaming and hollering at him, chewing him out for his lack of success in big games there in Happy Valley. And so let's go ahead and pull open some social media and read what the Penn State fans are saying about Coach Franklin, shall we? This is always a really fun thing for me to do. I get a great kick out of this. Doing it with our own fans, man. It's what I do. This is a post on one of Penn State's social media pages by a Jay Holohan, who says, "I have never seen a team struggle to put one foot in front of the other like the Penn State team coached by James Franklin against Ohio State. I need a full explanation for that 4th and goal play call. Why run a trick play on 2nd and 8 when trailing by 7? The defense kept them in it in the second half, but the most alarming number in this game is Penn State was outscored 20-3 from that pick 6 on. The animosity this fan base has towards Ohio State seems to be flailing. Let me open up. Flailing by the year as its team can never get over the hurdle." And I'm going to be honest with you guys, straight up honest with you. And we'll go back to the comments in just a second. I made this statement about Penn State and their fan base back in August. Um, when I took a trip to Pennsylvania, I noticed this is right before college football season started. No Penn State hats anywhere in Erie, Pennsylvania. Nowhere. This is like 2 hours from Penn State, man. That'd be like going to Cleveland, Ohio, and seeing no Buckeye stuff anywhere. Like, it's just no one's wearing it. It's all Penn State gear in Cleveland, Ohio. I saw more Ohio State fans in Erie, Pennsylvania than I did Penn State fans. And I started asking Penn State fans about the season and the apathy that has set in with this program because of the lack of success that James Franklin has had against Ohio State and against top opponents has, I think, reached a, a peak. It's reached levels that it's never been before. This is a good program. He's developed a very good program, but good's not good enough when you're Penn State, and that's where this fan base is. I think they've had it. They're done. All right, back to the comments. Let's keep reading, shall we? So now let's read some of the responses to this comment and question posed by Jay. This is from a Robert. He says, "How do we have a weapon like Tyler Warren and not run him wildcat 4 consecutive times from the 3 yard line?" That's actually a really good question. That was one of the things I was really worried about. Edward says Franklin is a legend in his own mind. Ouch, that's a slam. He has no clue about timeout calling. This is all true, Edward. Absolutely, he's a terrible game manager. He doesn't discipline his players and simply gets outcoached in all games that matter. Aller is a 5-star QB. No matter how he performs, doesn't perform. Prabula or Pribula, I can't pronounce his name. I apologize. Earned a start after his performance last week, and Franklin would have played Aller if he was in a wheelchair. He did the same thing with Clifford. You keep doing what you did, you'll keep getting what you got. That is a great comment. And again, let me make a comment about that. And I'm sorry, I didn't have the scene transitioned. I apologize. Um, I was more worried about the backup quarterback as an Ohio State fan. Look at what Aller did with a bum wheel running the football today. Now imagine what a more athletic running quarterback would have done against us. The middle of the field was wide open again, especially on that first drive. And for the life of me, I'm sitting there, and I said this before. I said if Aller is the starting quarterback for Penn State in this game, it's advantage Ohio State, especially if he has a bum wheel. And he ran the football excellent. And he's a gutsy kid, but it, having a hurt leg, even if you're a quarterback, it affects how you throw the football. It affects so much of what you do. And it's advantage Ohio State because the way our defense is designed, we're designed if you go 5 wide to match up with you. And the fact that you would have a quarterback who could hurt us with his legs is what is the Achilles heel of this defense. And you didn't even give that kid a chance. It's quite criminal. In fact, that's negligence on the coaching staff's part right there. Penn State was out coached, says Harold. Yes, they were. Steve Martin, I think we need a new coach. I would say a lot of your fans are thinking that way. Glenn Sauter, well, not surprised. It was a disappointing day. I really thought we had a chance when we were at the goal line. But yeah, you did. You absolutely had a chance to win this football game. Um, couple times you came away with nothing inside. And give credit to the Ohio State defense. They made the plays when they had to make the plays, and then at the end of the game, we just the offensive line dominated. And of course, Ohio State fans can argue that this game shouldn't have even come down to that, given the fact that the turnovers or whatnot. But it did, So kudos to Penn State for hanging in the game. But you're right. Again, it's just another failed coaching performance by James Franklin. Drain, I don't know. No calls on OSU, even though there were plenty of holding penalties we should have won. There were plenty of holding penalties that weren't called on Penn State either. That's a moot point. very rarely do you walk away from a game and say the officiating was so slanted one way that it cost the team. There's so many, and even if there's a bad call, which we've all seen it in our favorite teams. Hey, that was a bad call. It really affected the game. You put yourself in that situation where that call hurt. Ohio State, Oregon, for instance. Jack says, recruit all you want, but it's eventually got to translate into more than second fiddle. That's exactly where Penn State is at. They've continued to be second fiddle. It's James Second Fiddle Franklin. Didn't know that was middle name, Jack? Yes, James Second Fiddle Franklin. Kurt says, I'm amazed there aren't more posts on this site, especially after we spit the bit once again versus OSU. This is just one site I went to. There are plenty of posts. It is palpable how many posts this fan base has made concerning James Franklin. Jess, when at first you don't succeed running straight in the line, you would think something different might be tried. I think last I think last one he could have faked the handoff and ran to the left and scored, but no, we have to go into the heart of their defense. Actually, the last one was a fake and then it was a pass, Jess, and it was incomplete. Larry McKinley, outcoached again. Franklin is overrated and way overpaid. Phil, I agree. Why not get aggressive? Can I go back to Larry's comment? James Franklin received a 10-year, 75 million contract, $75 million contract for 10 years in 2021. You've got 7 more years of this. 7 more years of this. I don't know what the buyout would be. I'm guessing somewhere in the ballpark of 40 to 50 million dollars of it would be of the buyout here. Good luck with that. He ain't going anywhere. John says ineptitude, preparation. All right, Brian's got a long comment here. Let's see. The most consistent disappointment for Penn State is the inability of Coach Franklin to rise to the occasion of greatness. He muddles his way through the season, yet can never win the big game. I am so over James Franklin. One thing is certain. No one will ever propose naming the stadium James Franklin Field. Oh, jeez. Nor will anyone erect a statue honoring James Franklin. Can we just move on? Shaking my head. Well, you did have a statue erected there outside the stadium, but y'all tore that one down, didn't you? Just saying. Michael, keyword is second half. The SC or South Carolina, or I'm thinking South California, USC maybe, is horrible. Waits until second half to make adjustments every game. Notice Indiana fired him and they are undefeated. Oh, talking about the defensive coordinator. Okay, talking about the defensive coordinator. Uh, Indiana firing their head coach, who's now your defensive coordinator, and now Indiana's undefeated. That's because of Kurt Signetti, dude, and the turnover of the roster they had. Michael, that's a that's an unfair comment, man. It really is. John Elko, I wonder if he's related to Mike Elko. They should have gotten rid of him years ago, and even I can figure out what he is going to call in big games. Kurt Jacobson. I think we saw Kurt earlier. He's back for more. Franklin's job when he became coach, as he said, was to make our football program elite. He hasn't. In my opinion, he's an awful game day coach. Can you imagine him still coach of OSU or Michigan after his results? Yeah, no, that's not possible. Offense scored no touchdowns. That's correct, Shane. Way to be observant during the game. Jack, the step over personal foul didn't help much either. No, it didn't, and it was more than just a step over. He actually, whatever he said was what I think triggered that. But either way, yeah, that was immature and really giving Ohio State a second opportunity to score, and they did. Not smart. David, real short and sweet here by David. Fire Franklin. Denise says, Jay, please go put your application in for coach. He might actually. You never know. Edward, we are 7-1, not bad. State will be in the playoffs. You're actually 8-1, I believe. And if you win out, you probably will be in the playoffs. So positive thinking there, Ed. Paul, oh, idea. Let's get another OC and then realize the only constant in all these years is James Franklin. I'll help you pack. Whoo, Paul. He might own a moving company. Let's see. That would be positive for him if that's the case. Daniel, it's embarrassing. Fire Franklin. 11 years of failure is enough. Nick, Franklin sucks. Absolutely sucks. Jerry, not as long as Franklin is in charge. Judith Jude Dorman, Joe always had his team ready to play, just saying. Joe didn't know what the heck was going on the last 5 years that he was coaching there, Judith. He was lucky to put his shoes on the right way. Tom, he's is like he's is like Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Actually, Tom, this is something that some of my Notre Dame fans have pointed out. I think they're dead on. And Tom, I think you are absolutely right. I think James Franklin and Brian Kelly are two peas in a pod, except I think James Franklin's actually a better dude than Brian Kelly is. Just saying. Nancy, that was an idiotic play. Which one? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Um, anyways, Barbara says Joe Paul would have known what to do. Again, Barbara, Joe Paul would have known what to do maybe if it was in the 80s or 90s, maybe even the 70s. The the last about 5 years of Joe Paul's career, I don't know if he knew what was going on, let alone what to do. Joe must, I don't know who Joe is, but he says in your face, Penn State. Scott, coach can't win big games. This is absolutely true, Scott. The numbers suggest so. Jack says lots of armchair coaches with 2020 hindsight. Yep, that's called being a fan, Jack. Welcome to social media. Joey, the elite O-meter has Franklin at no. Makes sense. Paul, play calling was horrible when it counted, but that's the norm for Franklin. It's time to move on and hire someone who can get it done. And Carol is crying with the crying face emoji. Interesting day. Interesting day for Penn State fans. I have a very good friend who's a Penn State fan. He somehow talks himself into thinking every year they've got a shot, and I've noticed the last few years he's started to not believe that as much. He's, I hope we win, or it's, well, it'll be a good game, but James Franklin, so we probably won't win. The confidence is gone, and apathy has set in. And now it becomes very interesting what's going to happen in Happy Valley. James Franklin is not the answer. He is not a good game day manager. He can recruit decently. Um, I don't even know how good of a developer of talent he is. I think a lot of the development that has come in the program has just been, you know, through coordinators and position coaches or whatnot. Defensively, Penn State is usually really good, and offensively, they leave a lot to be desired. Speaking from someone from the outside, the Penn State atmosphere, looking at the program. James Franklin, I would never want him as my head coach. Just being straight up honest with you. Um, maybe if I'm a fan of a program who's a perennial team that's under 500, he can get you to winning football and get you to bowl games, but he's never going to take a program to the next level. I don't think that's in his DNA, and he's proven that now time and time again with Penn State, who has the pedigree to do absolutely that. Penn State should be a contender for Big Ten titles year in and year out, along with the team up north, Ohio State, and I believe Oregon and USC. Nebraska could be. I don't know if you can say should be, but they could given that blue blood background that they have. But Penn, Nebraska, and they lost again today to UCLA. So it's like I don't know what to think of Nebraska anymore. But Penn State should be that, and they're not. And I kind of I feel for that fan base because You've been blocked so many times by Ohio State and then the last 3 years by the team from Ann Arbor. And now with Oregon and USC and Washington in the conference, I wondered if Penn State would be take even another step back even more because of that. I can't see a scenario where Penn State is going to win a Big Ten championship with James Franklin as the head coach. Um, are you good enough to make the 12-team playoff? Maybe. You won't do anything when you get there because you'll be going up against a good SEC team, a good ACC team, a Big 12 team that's really, really good. And James Franklin has shown time and time again that he's going to stub his toe in those football games. So is it time to move on? Yeah. Will they? I don't know because that contract that's tough. That's a tough one to get out of, guys. I don't know. Maybe you root for James Franklin somehow messing up. I don't know. So you don't have to. So he don't have to pay him the money in that contract. Like, share, subscribe. We really do appreciate it. If you're a Penn State fan, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is it time to move on from James Franklin? Um, Let me know what you're frustrated about. If you're an Ohio State fan, let me know. Are you glad you don't have James Franklin? What's your thoughts on James Franklin? Let me know in the comments section below. And let's have a good conversation about this. We'll be live tomorrow evening, Sunday evening, November 3rd at 8 p.m. for a roundtable discussion about this very game. You won't want to miss it, guys. Be there, be squared. You know the rules, Buckeye Nation. Be kind to one another. I have someone's OH and Carmen High with all your heart. Till next time, go Bucks.